Today on Locked On Canadiens, it is the triumphant return of 3 Up, 3 Down. There are two Laval Rocket games that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the 3 Up, 3 Down, as we said. Who's been a big star in this series, and how far can we expect the Laval Rocket to go? All that's coming up on Locked On Canadiens.
For Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to episode 621 of Locked On Canadiens. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. 5 days a week, we are covering your Montreal Canadiens. And right now, what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens is that the Laval Rocket are in the playoffs, and that's what we're going to discuss. My name is Laura Saba. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined, as always, by Scott Matla, who actually covers the Laval Rocket for Habs Eyes on the Prize. Scott, how are you doing today?
I don't have the words. I got a message from someone in Slack going, out of everyone watching this playoffs right now, I'm happiest for you who went through, let's see, this is going to be year 8 of covering the Habs AHL affiliates, and they are one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals with a 3-1 victory over the Amerks tonight and a 6-1 victory over the Amerks on Sunday. I am ecstatic, to put it lightly. It's been so much fun watching this team play in the playoffs so far.
And the really exciting thing is that you might get to cover them on the road in Rochester as well this week, and we'll keep all of our listeners posted on that. In the meantime, let's kind of discuss the series as a whole, because we recorded before the first game for our yesterday episode, and we decided that we would talk about both today, and then we're going to do 3 Up, 3 Down for the Laval Rocket. So there hasn't been that much Canadiens news, and I wonder if it's partly because everybody wanted to go away and relax and, get some time, get their thoughts together, all of that, and partly because the Laval Rocket are literally in the playoffs, and this is historic for them. They've been playing really well. Some of them have been really standing out. There have been a couple of incidents where it hasn't been all that great. Scott, how optimistic should Canadiens fans be at this point about the Laval Rocket?
To put this in terms right now, I wrote the series preview after the Syracuse series came to an end for the game against the Amerks, and I had a couple of keys. Stay out of the box, and if you're in the box, make sure your penalty kill is up to snuff, because the Amerks power play is very good. You got to get some depth scoring. The Rocket got a lot of last-minute goals against the Syracuse Crunch to help them get through that series. They were 38 seconds away from being eliminated before Cedric Paquette scored with the net empty. And then Cayden Primeau, he doesn't have to be a 940 goalie the entire way, but if he continues to play well, they're going to be okay. And through 2 games, they've gone check, check, and check. We're going to talk about some of the big bright spots in 3 Up and 3 Down, but they're playing as a very well-oiled unit right now. And the one thing I've watched from this series, and this goes to a lot of people I've had discussions with, is that they need more prospects. They need more young guys. They don't need to be playing guys like Alex Belzile and Xavier Ouellet and this and that. This series is a cautionary tale for that, in that the Rochester team is very based off of guys like Jack Quinn, Peyton Krebs, JJ Peterka, Arttu Ruotsalainen. The Rocket have held them to 2 goals, one from Peterka and one from Ruotsalainen. Jack Quinn has not scored in the playoffs, and Peyton Krebs does not have a goal either. And they're just getting suckered into things. I watched tonight in that Jack Quinn came unraveled, took a roughing penalty against Alex Belzile, and allowed the Rocket to kill off more time that eventually led to Lucas Condada's 3-0 goal to help secure the victory there. It's all about balance, and the Rocket have a team right now that is very well built for this kind of grind here. They had to play 12 forwards and 6 defensemen. Matthias Norlinder is out injured because he got cheap shotted by Ben Holmstrom, who's a 35-year-old nobody that nobody gives a crap about. And Condada drew in, and sometimes all you need is that moment to prove that you're worth anything there. And before anyone asks, Emil Heineman will not be playing. He has returned to Sweden to continue his recovery. So we were hoping, but unfortunately it was not the time. it's incredible to watch a team come together like this because they were this close to being eliminated. So close to being eliminated. And that Cedric Paquette goal changed the course of everything. And this is a team that I've been hard on this season, like very hard on at points in this season. And they have come up big time after time in the playoffs. It looked like they were going to get eliminated in Syracuse, and then they didn't. After getting shut out at home 3-0, it really looked like that was going to be the end of the line. I'm really impressed with what Jean-Francois Houle has done and with what this team has done so far.
There's a couple of things that I want to say is that I think it's interesting that you said that you were really hard on the team this season because to my mind, this Laval Rocket team is not as good as last year's Laval Rocket team that didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs but won the league or whatever the division or whatever it was that they gave them the honorary title for because they didn't have a playoffs last year. I think that it's very, very true that this team quality-wise is not as good, but the coach is still getting the most out of them. And it's a totally different coach, which I find really, really encouraging is that it's not just one guy, right? It's like there's a certain type of system that Houle has imparted, and he is communicating really well with the players as to what he wants from them. And I think it's if you want to kind of compare it to any team, you got to think about, for example, last year Montreal was seconds away from being eliminated by Toronto 3 times and they won, right? Sometimes you just need that one bounce, that one guy to be in the right place at the right time, that one opponent to make a mistake, that one goalie to stand on his head. The thing with Laval is that they've got all of them in this series, right? Like there's always like the guy, like the unfortunate bounce happens and then somebody else steps up, right? Or the goaltending is stellar, or, there's a lot of depth to this team that I think is really cool and really interesting. And at the same time, I do think that, we talk a lot about how Laval isn't really being used as a development team just yet, or not enough of one. But there are players on this team that are in the Canadian system that are expected down the line to make the Canadiens lineup. It's not like a completely lost cause with just a bunch of AHLers. I feel like that's being misrepresented a little bit. There's a lot of guys getting a lot of good experience here, I think. And so what we're going to do is we are going to turn our attention to our 3 up and 3 down. And I'm going to have Scott take all the downs because I don't have it in me to rant about a cheap shot right now. So that's coming up in just one moment. And then after that, we're going to talk about who have been the stars so far for the Laval Rocket. And that's in just one moment. But first, remember that Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar. If you've listened to this podcast or any Locked On podcast, you'll know that they're one of our favorite sponsors. They are so delicious. They're high in protein, low in sugar, made with real chocolate. They've got amazing flavors. Right now, they've got a birthday cake puff that's out. It's so good. And we wouldn't be telling you this if we didn't use them ourselves. I use them as an on-the-go breakfast. Scott takes them on hikes with him. I've started running again, so sometimes I'll use it. And sometimes, you know what? You're hungry, you need a pick-me-up, and you want a treat at the same time. Built Bar is it, just because it's so high in protein and so low in sugar and always delicious. None of that whey protein weird flavor, none of that grainy texture that you're used to with protein bars. So if you want to try Built Bar, go to built.com and enter LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. That's built.com and enter LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. All right, Scott, so we've had some question marks. I think, unfortunately, what happened was some of the question marks weren't able to be answered, right? Like people were talking about Norlinder, and we were talking about his usage kind of being the problem. And now that's a moot point. So as we talk about our 3 up, 3 down, as usual, we like to go 3 down first and then end the episode on a higher note. So let's talk about things we are not happy with.
All right, so I'm just going to get this out of the way here for game 1. And my 2 downs are going to Nick Boca and Ben Holmstrom of the Rochester Americans. Obviously, I am from Rochester. I love my hometown team. The crap that happened in the end of the game on Sunday at the end of game 1 is so amateur hour 1990s knuckle-dragging bullcrap that it has no place. It was so bad that both guys got scratched for the game tonight. Holmstrom somehow avoided a suspension for blindsiding Matthias Norlinder with 6 seconds left on the clock. And Nick Boca was just trying to fight anybody with a pulse in this game. He was sent to the box at least 2 to 3 times for trying to fight Gabriel Bork, Xavier Ouellet. And then at the end of the game, also getting in a tussle as they tried to pull him off of Norlinder after he was hit on the blind side by Holmstrom there. It's ugly, stupid hockey. He's in the box trying to tell Ouellet to take his gloves off and fight him. Why is the captain of the Rocket going to fight you? You're a seventh defenseman who can't skate, can't play defense, can't score, and is only out there looking to cause trouble right now. Your team is losing by multiple goals, and I understand you're trying to get a spark. You're trying to do this. Go do something productive right now. It's dumb. It's really, really friggin' dumb, to be honest with you. And
we didn't even mention the score of that game.
It was 6-1. Like when that
I know
cheap
we're
shot
going to
was
talk
thrown.
about this. I know we're going to talk about this in the next segment. But like one guy had 1 million goals. So like, anyway, sorry. When it's a lopsided score,
yeah,
you throw out your goons. Like it's just don't. It's so stupid. Like you literally injured a guy who's a promising young player for the Montreal Canadiens. You know what I mean? Like that was like I think my biggest down. Who else you got, Scott?
I'm finding it hard to have downs for anything in this series otherwise because of how good the games have been. The officiating's been a little rough around the edges because my first thought is the minute guys start showing you exactly what they're out there to do, just start dishing 10s and sending people to a shower. It's clear what's going to happen here. And guess what? It happened. You didn't get control of the game. And some 35-year-old plug who is suspended for using homophobic slurs during the season.
It's that guy?
Yes, it's that guy.
Oh.
So he then avoids suspension despite hitting Matthias Norlinder in the head 6 seconds left in a 6-1 game. It's stupid. It's really, really stupid, and I don't love that. And like I don't have any down on the Rocket side of things in this series so far. As you'll see in our next segment, everyone on this team has been pulling their weight here, and it's so wild to me that this is a team that was so close to being eliminated. And I guess I don't have anyone on this team. Like Cedric Paquette hasn't maybe been as dominant as we might hope, or same with Nate Schnarr, but they're likely playing injured, and they're still getting some points in this, and everything's working out well. So my other down is actually I'm switching this to the NHL side of things here. The entire Florida Panthers organization, as they were just swept by the Tampa Bay Lightning in 4 games, they scored 3 total goals. And if you need to be reminded, they gave up a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and Ty Smilanic for, 10 playoff games of Ben Chiarot and a handful of regular season games. I hope it was worth it because you have no first-round picks for the next 3 years, 1 second and 2/3. Good luck with all of that. You went all in and it didn't work, and now you are boned, to be quite honest. So the Florida Panthers get my down on this one all the way across the board.
So a couple of things that I wanted to mention now that we're back about the NHL, and then we'll go into our 3-up in our next segment. One thing, the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? I don't know if they'll three-peat or not, but they certainly are making the most of their experience, having gone so far. It's almost astounding to watch them not even play all that well against the Toronto Maple Leafs and beat them, and then now sweep the team that was the number 1 team in the regular season. Every time Florida came to town, not just here, everywhere else, people would be like, this is a juggernaut of a team. This is a juggernaut of a team. I feel like the word juggernaut, however, it feels like a kiss of death in the NHL after last year. And I'm not super sold on the fact that the Florida Panthers were truly a juggernaut. I thought they had a really strong system, and they had a lot of players have a lot of good years. But at the end of the day, like, I think before the playoffs even started, I would have picked Tampa Bay to three-peat. I'm still hoping, and we're getting a lot of crap for this in the comments because a lot of our listeners want the Calgary pick to be as high as possible, which I totally understand. And a lot of them are not fans of the Calgary Flames, which I also kind of understand, or they might be cheering for other teams. They might be cheering for McDavid to finally get his cup and all of that. But we're cheering for the Calgary Flames because Tyler Toffoli, because they are a team which as a concept don't offend us as much as all the other teams in the NHL do. And our friends at the Scorch Stack, we love them. So that's why we're cheering for Calgary. But you're free to cheer for whoever you want, listeners. You don't have to cheer for Calgary just like we are. But we just want Tyler Toffoli, to be happy. Cat Toffoli. Dodger Toffoli. Are you cheering against Dodger Toffoli? For real.
And I look at it this way, is that the Florida Panthers, to kind of circle back on that, had one of the greatest offenses of all times this year. They averaged almost 4 goals a game, and they scored 3 goals in this entire series. And there are Leaf fans looking at this and going, well, we took Tampa to 7 games and Florida couldn't even do that. And it's
true, though.
It is, but here's the thing is, do you think that you would have been able to do the same thing to Florida that Tampa Bay is doing right now?
I think that given the way Florida played in the first 2 series, or in their only 2 series, I truly think that the Leafs would have beat them in a 7-game series.
I think so as well, depending on one thing.
Ben Sherrod.
Yes. But when Florida's offense actually gets cranked up and going, it doesn't stop. And we saw against Tampa Bay, Toronto's depth really didn't show the way it needed to. And we've seen what Florida's lineup is. Tampa Bay has this down to a science at this point. Like, they are just John Cooper not being a perennial Jack Adams candidate is almost offensive for how good he's actually gotten that team to play. I'm very curious to see what the third round looks like for this, whether it be the Rangers or whether it be the Hurricanes, because if it's the Hurricanes, I feel like that's going to be just a chess match. If it's the Rangers, I don't see them beating Tampa en route to Tampa making a third cup appearance here. I don't believe in the Rangers, unfortunately. I think Igor Shesterkin is incredible. I do not believe in them as a actual, full-scale chance to make this happen.
Absolutely. So one other thing that I wanted to say about the playoffs, we kind of talked about it yesterday with Nazem Kadri and the water bottle, and it's turned out that St. Louis fans are directing a lot of racist and racist epithets and death threats at Nazem Kadri. Stop it. We had one listener kind of looking at the video and seeing something different, seeing that it was a purposeful play by Nazem Kadri. I personally disagree. I think it wasn't an intentional injury. I truly don't. And, Nazem Kadri's history kind of plays into that perception a lot. But whether or not he did it on purpose, there's no place for racist threats. I don't think that it's not the same thing. And for people to kind of be like, oh, it doesn't matter, oh, just get over it, all of that kind of stuff, no, racism has no place in this game, in society at all. So stop that. You can hate Nazem Kadri for a whole number of reasons, but leave him alone. Stop threatening to kill him. Don't be a racist. I mean, just hate him the way that we hate people. We just kind of keep it quiet. We just dislike them. Anyway, so that's going to be, I guess, another one of our downs. And in the meantime, we've got 3 ups for the Laval Rocket, and that's coming up in just one moment. All right, Scott, I know who's going to be the main focus of this segment, but I feel like there's a lot of candidates for 3 up. So maybe why don't we give ourselves also an honorary mention? We can have 3 ups and an honorary mention. How about that?
All right. So, man, this is going to be, it's tough because there's so many good picks for this. Right now, my honorary up for this is going to end up going to Alex Belzile right now. He's a guy who's playing a lot of minutes, wearing a lot of different hats. He's power play 2, penalty killing. He's eating a lot of tough defensive minutes. He's got 7 points through 7 playoff games right now, I believe. It's not flashy. It's just effective at what he does. And he's one of those guys that we've talked before about, guys that get you to the playoffs and guys that get you through the playoffs. And he's playing that role really well right now. He is on my honorary up list as it stands.
And I can't disagree with that. I truly cannot. All right. Let's do our actual 3 up then.
All right. These are just going to get increasingly more obvious, but we're going to start at number 3, and I'm going to pick Gabriel Bork here. The guy who got the Rocket into the next round of the playoffs with his overtime winner in Syracuse has been nothing short of incredible through 2 games. Yeah, the points aren't there, but this is a guy on the penalty kill who's blocking multiple shots. He's making smart plays, getting the puck out, drawing penalties. He's doing everything that a person wearing a letter should do for a team here. He's picking up the slack for some of those younger guys, a lot like Alex Belzile is, that maybe aren't producing like we would hope they would right now. And that's not a detriment to them. The playoffs are a different beast. We talked in the first segment about how some of Rochester's young guys can't seem to handle the rhythm of the Canadiens. I wish the Canadiens were in the playoffs. The Rockets' veteran presence there. And I think that's Bork is part of that. He's irritating within the rules, and he's just playing a huge role there. Depth players are players too, and they're important. And it's why they went out and signed guys like this. And Gabriel Bork is part of that. He's been arguably their best defensive player in this series, not named Cayden Primeau, who is a goalie. So I find it really hard to not give him his props where they were due.
And I feel like with both of those guys, with Belzile and with him, when you hear the hockey cliche, you win with guys like that in the playoffs, that's what you mean. Like, everything that they're doing is what you're talking about when you throw out that cliche, right? The blocking the shots, the using the body, the sacrificing the body, as it were, that people like to talk about a lot. I think part of it is just, you kind of have to not just learn to do that as young players. You need people to give you that example. And that's what these guys are doing. They're giving the players that are going to be the future core of the NHL team a lot to learn from, draw from, understand, emulate. And I think that's a really positive thing. All right. I have a feeling who your next two people are going to be, but I'm just going to let you say them.
All right. So number 2 goes to Danick Martel, who has been...
Remember when I said somebody scored 1 million goals? That's what I was talking about.
He scored 4 goals in the first game of the series. The first hat trick for a Canadiens AHL team since Corey Locke for the Hamilton Bulldogs. And he is the first player to score 4 goals in an AHL playoff game since Greg Scott did it against Rochester back in 2013. He was injured late in game 5. He took an overtime penalty, again, that almost gave the Crunch the game, and then he set up Gabriel Bork's overtime winner. And against Rochester, he has been such a pest that he has players crawling in their skin. He's taking abuse in front of the net before the whistle, after the whistle. He's doing everything in his power to get them off their game, and it's working. I clipped a video tonight that he's in the box for a tripping penalty, and Jack Quinn is on his way to the box for roughing up Alex Belzile. And the minute Quinn is within earshot, Martel is on his feet, and he is just giving it to him. And he does not stop. He's in the box yelling at him, and then he's getting up and he's yelling at him. And you can just see Quinn seething as he's yelling back at him. I don't know if you remember Maxime Lapierre's, crap-eating grin that he used to have.
Yeah, his yapping. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like that. It's just like that. He's been a nuisance, and he almost didn't play some of the games because just injuries and not being consistent. And he has been just the guy for the Rocket in this series. And I know he's not the only one there. There's been a lot of offense, but he's so good at what he does right now. He's irritating. He's great with the puck. He's third in the AHL playoffs for shots. He's got 26 through, 7 games. He's not going to be an NHL piece, but at the same time, he's just absolutely perfect for what this team needed right now.
I agree. He scored 4 goals in a game, though. You know what happens when that.
The broadcast has to cut to something else, unfortunately. So they could not show that on air.
All right, and now we're gonna get to our somebody who's very deservedly getting a lot of praise and kind of grabbing the reins of his own career and playing so well that people are chanting his name. And that's Cayden Primeau. What is there to say? I mean, his play has just been so significantly good that every day you kind of think, you're like, all right, his season wasn't great. There were a lot of rough points, especially at the NHL level. Last season wasn't great at the NHL level, but at the AHL level, he has just been dominant in net in such a way that it's given the team confidence, it's given the fans confidence, it's given the players confidence. It's literally like I'm watching him and I just feel so much relief at the fact that he's been able to get his game back.
I look at his stats right now. I have them pulled up on AHL.com. In terms of qualified goalies, he's played the second most minutes behind Aaron Dell, who has played 3 more total games, including ones he did not finish for the Amherst. So out of people who didn't play in that round, Cayden Primeau then has allowed 10 total goals. He's 5-1-0, 165 goals against, 949 save percentage. And it's wild to me that he's not even the top guy in some of those categories, but some of the other players have played 2 games to have a 101 save percentage, 1.52 amongst qualified goalies. He's been so lights out, and he's the reason they won game 2. Rochester came out real strong in the second period there and late in the game, and Cayden Primeau was just like, nope. And he locked it down. There was a late goal against, and you know what? He locked it down. Every little thing, every challenge has not phased him in these playoffs so far. There was a shorthanded breakaway for Arttu Ruotsalainen, who has been absolutely lethal for the Amherst. And Primeau calmly comes out, cuts down the angle, blockers the puck away, and it goes back the other way. He's making calm and collected plays that I haven't seen him make with regularity before. And this is no disparagement to Kevin Poulin, who played great down the stretch. But Cayden Primeau was given the opportunity in game 2 against Syracuse and has not given anyone any reason to take that away from him. I'm not saying he's going to be an NHL goalie next year, that he can take over for Carey Price as soon as next year. But this is a hugely positive step. He looks like he's having fun. He looks relaxed. And he's showing all the signs of positive goaltender development here. It's not perfect. It's not linear. But this is a really big win for him, regardless of how far they go. It's not going to be because of him that they're going to end up losing. I know goalies always get the blame, but Cayden Primeau has been so good for the Rocket. And I can't wait to see him on Wednesday night. I'm very excited.
I absolutely agree. And just one note before we end the show, Samuel Montalvo was at the game and I thought it was adorable. Just cheering on his sometimes teammates. I don't know. I thought it was great. It was so funny. He seemed like, this is why we keep saying we love Samuel Montalvo. He literally just seems like a great dude. That's the end of it. So we're going to be back tomorrow. We've got lots of fun stuff planned for you this week, and all of that's coming up. So make sure you are subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and or on YouTube. We would prefer both because we're very excited about the number of subscribers we're having on YouTube now. You can always email us at lockedoncanadians@gmail.com. You can leave comments in the YouTube. Always be nice. You can tweet us at LO_Canadians. Also follow us at LO_Canadians. You'll find us both on Twitter. I'm at The Active Stick. Scott is at Scott Metla. When you were done this podcast, check out Locked On NHL, where they're covering every aspect of the playoffs from every angle, including power rankings, the biggest stories. You won't go wrong with them. Make them your second listen of the day. Thanks so much for listening. We will talk to you tomorrow.